Monster. This is your host, Will Carey. Thank you for tuning in again this week. It's good to be back putting out episodes on a regular basis from my new studio here that I share with my lovely lady, Chelsea. Today on the show, we've got comedian Carrie Gravenson. Carrie and I have a bit of history. We go back a couple of years, but I haven't seen her in, I would say, like 4 years. So it's good to catch up and really get to know her. The last time we spent any length of time, and we talked about this a little bit, we drove from New York to Maryland because we each had a gig in different part of the state, and we talk a little bit about that. We talk about road comedy, and then we talk about my plans for if I ever had a very particular client that I have to perform comedy for, we make some plans for how we would make the most out of that situation. Real quick before we get into the interview for this week, I want you guys to know I will be doing a storytelling show in New York City at the Sidewalk Cafe in the East Village, May 9th at 8 p.m. It's going to be me and 3 other storytellers. It's going to have David Lawson, Anita Flores, and Marc Abbott. We're each going to be doing like a nice 1 to 2 story set, and I plan to record it for an EP release in the near future. It's a free show. There is a 2-item minimum for the club, but there's no charge otherwise. So if you are in the city and are able to make it out and be on the record laughing at some of my stories, I would greatly appreciate you guys coming out. So I hope to see you guys there. And if you like the show, you can, of course, subscribe and rate on iTunes and Stitcher. And let's see what other housekeeping things we have. And then you can follow me on Twitter at @ComicWillCarey. And let's go to my chat with Carrie Gravenson. This has happened to me a lot recently also. Hosts on shows know that when I'm next, and they know that I'm tall, so they'll try to adjust the microphone
right
to accommodate for me, and then every single time they break the mic
Nice.
stand before my set.
Nice.
So and then also I don't talk from the mic stand anyway. I take
That's
the mic
the thing
out
is you
anyway.
just take the mic out anyway.
Yeah.
I don't bother adjusting it because I'm just going to take it. It's just the holder.
Yeah.
It just holds the mic until I get there, and then I take
Basically,
it out.
I only know one comic who adjusts the mic stand and just talks with it from the stand, and it's Patrick Hasty.
Oh, okay.
And he does it because his hands shake.
Oh. I do it when I have to gesture with both arms. I have 2 jokes that need both hands.
Right.
And then I would seek the mic. But
yeah,
even
you seek the mic stand to do that. Or I'll sometimes do my closing bit with the mic in the stand because that way I can just leave super fast.
Oh, yeah.
After
when you run off crying.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I usually end my set like that too.
Yeah. It's a pretty memorable ending.
Yeah, you just run scream crying with my arms in the air. And then, are you recording it?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
Yeah. So anyone who knows my set knows I end it scream crying, running, and cursing. I didn't get the rules. Can we curse on your podcast?
Of course.
Okay.
Of course. It's all explicit.
I run fucking screaming from the stage. And it doesn't matter how high the mic stand is for that. In fact, I'm likely to push it over onto the audience and then run screaming. So it doesn't matter.
Yeah, just get a little bit of chaotic performance art in the mix as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, I dig it, Carrie. I haven't seen you in like 2 years.
I know. I've seen you since we drove to Maryland together.
I was gonna bring that up because when I think of about comics that I feel like I have a serious rapport with, you're at the top of the list.
Really? Because we haven't spoken in 2 years, but we haven't
spoken in 2 years. But I know if one of us had a road gig and was like, hey, I need her.
Oh yeah, I would travel with you.
And we were traveling again. It would just be right back in it because the bond of comedians on a long car trip, I think, is intense.
And if you share my other one is if you share a hotel room with a comedian, you're sort of bonded forever. Like I shared a bed with Emily Epstein White
Mm-hmm.
On a NACA trip.
Oh, yeah?
And it was us and like 8 guys. And there were only 2 beds. And so they were like, well, we better give the one of the beds to the chicks. You know, so Emily and I shared a bed, and then the other 6 people had to like throw themselves around the room. I think Adam Lucidi slept on like an ironing board. Somebody slept on a chair. Like somebody slept in the tub. It was you can only do that when you're 25.
Of course.
It was fantastic.
Yeah. Once you cross 30, I think you're like, I mean, I still could do a floor, I think, because I have that sort of ingrained in me. But my getting up, I'm going to sound like popcorn popping.
I could find the exact date that I and my tour mates decided we were never sleeping on a floor again. And it was the second tour. We were in Texas. We slept on a floor in Austin, one of Aaron Judge's friends.
Ooh.
And we woke up. We got up the next day from the floor, and we all looked at each other and we went, I'm not sleeping on a floor again. I'm 35 and I can make these decisions, and I've decided I'm not sleeping on a floor ever again.
Yeah. You make some lifestyle adjustments.
I want to be cool. Like I want to be low. I want to be breezy and like low maintenance. And I want to be like, sure, just give me a piece of floor, no problem.
Yeah.
But no, it's not me anymore. I can't.
Yeah, I need at least like a couch. It doesn't have to be a nice couch.
Well, you just said you could do a floor, but you'd be popping the next day.
I would be popping, but I still have, for certain things, I am still of the mindset of like, I don't care what I have to go through to get to it. I'll do it.
Right.
Like there's that sort of like, the 24-year-old in me that was reading like Henry Rollins' Get in the Van.
Yes, exactly. And I want to be that's what I want to be. I want to be cool with everything.
Yeah.
But if someone's like, you can sleep on this yoga mat on the hardwood floor, I'll be like, I'll just get a hotel. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Like I'll just get like a 3-star.
Yeah.
So it's not that deep.
I know exactly what you mean. Well, speaking of your tour mates, Caitlin likes to bring up when you guys were in Maryland for Pink Collar, which is now called Cake.
Yes, Cake.
She likes to bring up when you guys stayed at T. Brad's and T. Brad Hudson.
Oh God, yes. Oh, and the candles.
He lit candles and he went out and bought new towels.
Yes. Oh my goodness. Oh, that guy is so sweet. Okay, yeah. So you've heard the story.
Yes, I have.
And he was like, "What do women like? Women like scented things."
Right. It's like scented candles and dry towels and
new towel. He bought new towel. I mean, this is such a good dude's effort to make someone comfortable that was misguided in all the most adorable ways. Do you know what I mean?
Yes, I do.
Yeah. So we come in and there's 30 candles blazing, like 30 scented candles all going, and it's hot.
Right. Oh, it was in the summertime?
Well, no, just because there's 30 candles, like a fire. Yeah, there's just the heat from 30. So we're like, whoa, okay. And then the towels are brilliantly fluffy and new, but new towels have that fuzz.
Right,
when
that
you
kind of gets all over your
so we were
body.
all covered in new towel fuzz, and then I think he had new sheets and everything. It was adorable.
That's
oh, and
hilarious.
I think he got us yogurt too. It was like, women like yogurt, right? And we were like, yes, T. Brad, women love yogurt.
It's like he set up his apartment to be like a cool tech startup,
right?
Like that's what the break room looks like at the next hot Silicon Valley property.
It was sweet though. It was, I don't know what he thought his apartment looked like. I have to transform this rape dungeon into a cool schwanky crash pad. No, it was a totally normal apartment. It was and he had a kid. It was a normal apartment that could facilitate a child. Mm-hmm. It wasn't a sad single dude. Right. Swinging bare light bulb apartment. It was
yeah. Like he wouldn't get on Queer Eye because it's too nice to begin with.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
That's funny. I think now if I walked into a room with a whole bunch of candles lit, I couldn't not think that there was some sort of dubious implications.
Right. That's the irony of how funny it was that he overdid his effort. In his effort to make us comfortable, made it very weird. I mean, it smelled great.
Right.
But we were like, what's with the 900 candles?
I was like, oh, I Googled what women like, and I got all these ads for Yankee Candle.
Exactly. That's his apartment was sponsored by Yankee Candle that day.
That's funny to me because my childhood, a lot of it, the weekends was going to like cute antique stores with my mom and smelling Yankee Candle.
Oh yeah.
So every Christmas, I know what to get mom.
Yeah, it's way more fun to smell Yankee Candles than it is to own them.
Yeah.
Owning them is like a nightmare.
Candles are a stressful proposition to me because like the fear of burning the house down.
Right.
Like I can't handle it.
Right.
I like that you are, as we're talking, that you are building yourself a pillow fort.
Well, I don't know why you gave me all these throw pillows if you didn't want me to build a fort. Like really, that's what. Right. And I'm looking around at like other things in the room. There's a bunch of IKEA bags that could be fort.
Can be fort-esque.
Fort holding. There's a suitcase that could be used for the base of the fort.
Yeah, that's good, solid fort foundation. I have several guitar amps and cases, to provide the walls of the fort.
Right. I mean, this is like we could build 2 forts and battle between them in this dope ass room. Just saying, like those modular IKEA pieces, good fort material.
Yes, absolutely. So this borough is this is your hometown, your home turf, basically.
Basically.
You grew up in Queens?
Yes.
Your whole life? What part?
Sunnyside. Well,
Sunnyside.
Partly in Greenwich Village and partly in Sunnyside, Queens.
Oh, nice.
So I had divorced parents, still have divorced parents, and my dad lived in Manhattan and my mom lived in Queens. So I claim both, depending on which argument I'm having.
Right.
Right. Which street cred I need. If I need Manhattan cred, well, I grew up in the West Village, so back the fuck up. And then if I'm having like Queens girls or bitches, I'm like, well, I'm a Queens girl and you're a bitch, So it depends on the fight I'm having. Those are the 2 fights.
No, absolutely. It's like I remember the West Village when it wasn't just piano bars and mixology.
Right. Exactly.
And I remember Queens when it was not just brunch places and playgrounds.
Right. That's what I say.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh, that's hysterical. Because let me ask you this, because seeing as you were born and raised New Yorker, is moving in between boroughs a huge deal? Like if you were born and raised in Brooklyn and then you moved to Queens, is this like a life-shattering experience?
I don't think so. I admit that Queens is not as cool as Brooklyn. And I'm proud. I'm way proud to be from Queens. Like I don't, But if someone was like, move with me to Brooklyn,
right,
and I'll give you $1 million, and have this leprechaun go down on you every day, I would be like, I can't
imagine too many people would turn that down.
I would be like, absolutely, like where in Brooklyn,
Right.
And also my mom lives in Brooklyn now. So mom now claims Brooklyn cred, and I'm like, you didn't grow up in Brooklyn. You don't get to claim Brooklyn cred, but she claims Brooklyn cred.
That's funny. What part of Brooklyn is she?
She's in the Heights.
In the Heights,
because of course she is.
Right. Yeah.
Yes.
Excellent. So this was like New York in like the 80s, 90s.
Yeah.
You're grown up.
Yeah, I mean, I was born in 1990, so.
You were born in 1990?
No. Jackass.
I was about to
That's
say.
So cute that you believed that.
That's. I am very naive. Like if I ever meet Pete Holmes, I'm gonna make him look edgy.
Nice.
Is kind
you hear
of my
that,
MO.
Pete? You just threw down to Pete Holmes.
Yeah.
Take that.
Like we would do a roast battle, and it would just turn into a compliment off.
You would just be cuddling like
a
koala bear, right? It'd be like a snuggle off.
Yeah, because I'm as tall as him too, so that's just like I can't handle the mental image of me snuggling Pete Holmes is what I'm saying.
Oh, okay. I'm picturing it now, and it's kind of nice, sort of sweet.
Oh, thanks.
Yeah.
So
yeah, no, it was the 80s and 90s.
80s and 90s, or I've heard tell of New York in the 80s and 90s. So I always love hearing stories of
name a neighborhood, and I'll tell you what it used to be like.
Well, I would love to know, because I used to live. Well, let me ask you this: I lived on 50th Street, in between 43rd and Skillman. Is that Woodside or is that Sunnyside?
That's Sunnyside.
That's Sunnyside. Okay. So I guess I grew up in, I guess I lived for like 4 or 5 years in Sunnyside. So what was Sunnyside like in the 90s?
Oh my God. It was great. I mean, let's see. That was high school-ish. So, I mean, it's sort of the same, but it's not as many brunch places, not as much reclaimed wood. Mm-hmm. And I think like more crappy bodegas.
Yeah.
And then, but like a lot of families, like I mean, Sunnyside Gardens has always been sort of nice with like the courtyards and that kind of thing. And then Greenpoint really hasn't changed that much at all.
Oh yeah,
that whole like shopping area with the little like
with all the Polish places,
the Sunnyside Arch. Yeah.
Oh yeah, I love that place.
I was around when that
over
went
by
up.
Alpha Donuts.
Yes, Alpha Donuts has been there since like the frickin' like early 80s. And some of the same restaurants are there. Like Starbucks wasn't there, but
well, I heard Parrot Coffee used to be a different business.
I'm not sure where that one is. What?
That's like on the other side of Queens Boulevard, like almost right across from Alpha Donuts.
Oh, okay. Yeah. See, I don't even know what that is. There's a little school called Little Friends on 46th Street. Mm-hmm. That's where I met my friend, and we're still friends.
Nice.
That's where I went to. What preschool? Is that?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, I shouldn't probably tell that to the world because now you can like hack me and like know like secret things about me. But yeah, I went to Little Friends on 46th Street.
And what was your home life like? You said, did your parents get divorced early, or did that happen later?
Oh no, they were separated early and then like finalized later. But like so separated. Yeah. So and this is maybe unique to Sunnyside, but I used to walk to and from school alone, and I was 6. And school was a half a mile away. So, and like looking back, I'm like, oh, that seems really young for like a first grader to like walk a half a mile in like, but I guess it was a pretty safe neighborhood. Like, it's not dangerous. But yeah, I would walk from 48th Street to PS 11, and like it was not. I never got. Oh, actually, yeah. One time a van did pull up. I swear.
Like a white windowless van?
Yeah, like a white windowless van pulled up. And somebody was like, "Get in, kid," and I laughed my ass off because that's the stereotype. Like that's not even like help me find my puppy or like you know what I mean? Like they're not even trying.
Yeah,
they're just doing the joke.
Yeah, exactly. They're doing the hack bit.
Right, they're doing the hack bit about what?
Like I've got candy.
Yeah, kidnapping a kid. Like I knew like. Don't take, never get candy from a stranger, like blah, 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 blah. Like I knew all the rules was drilled into me. Yeah. Never touch the third rail was another one that was drilled into me. And so like when finally like someone actually said, once you get in the van, I was like, no. I just kept walking. I was like, idiots.
I love that story because that is... It's just, because like I think kids grow up faster in New York.
Yeah.
Maybe it's I don't know what it is. Maybe it's out of necessity. Maybe it's just like the environment or.
Well, you're surrounded by too many people. Like there's just too many people. I think your parents are always trying to explain what that guy's doing, what that guy's doing. Like, mommy, why is that? What's that? He's like masturbating on the train, and your mom has to be like, well, some people have no impulse control. Like you have to.
Right. You learn all this stuff.
You have to learn all this, like, just being out in the street. So, like, I don't know. You develop like a pretty good street smartness, I guess. Early. Yeah. And so if someone's gonna like kidnap me, they got to be a lot smarter than get in the van, kid. Are you kidding me? Like, no.
It's like this might work in Ohio, but this isn't going to work.
That's not going to work here.
I love the idea of someone trying to prey on a child and the child's just like, fucking idiot.
Like, you're such a moron.
Yeah. Like seriously, like being more creative.
Yeah.
That's
I'm like, give me a reason. Like, you're not even trying candy. Yeah. Like, I know that one too, but like, you're doing you're doing the least amount of work.
Yeah, you would only catch like you would only catch the the kids that like Darwinism, which is weed out eventually anyway.
You're catching the
just
Darwin
get in the van.
Or you're catching like the new kids who just moved from Iowa the day before, and they were like, well, I guess anyone with a van would be trustworthy because my dad has a van. And like,
exactly.
You know, I'm like, where are you from that you would fall for that?
I would not have fallen for that because my elementary school, they were always like drilling into us that kind of stuff. But that's where I lived. That was never going to happen because I didn't live near a street where vans were frequented or any cars were.
You're from Maryland.
I'm from Maryland. I grew up in, I can't even say the town because it's so small, so I say the county I'm from. I grew up in Calvert County, which is where the Patuxent River and the Chesapeake Bay meet.
Nice.
Yeah.
So did you go like a crab catching?
Oh, all the time.
In the Chesapeake? You were like...
Well, mostly went fishing in the Chesapeake, but I would catch crabs off of my grandfather's pier.
Oh, my God. I was half kidding, and that's really what the Chesapeake people do. Oh, my God.
Yeah. No,
that's
exactly.
pretty wild.
Yeah, and then we inherited his house after he passed away, so that was like summers were like tying chicken necks with twine and then throwing them in the water and then slowly pulling the crabs in and catching them with a net.
And then that was dinner.
Yes.
Oh, my God. Maryland people are, like, insane. Did you have, like... Old Bay spice just like coming out of like every crack in the house that you could like rub crabs on?
There was always Old Bay in the house. If we went to Chesapeake Bay, got to sprinkle that on the boardwalk fries.
Right.
Yeah. It's a great spice.
It is. I know.
It's a wonderful
spice. It goes on everything. It's
everything. Like... Or have you ever had Utz crab chips?
No.
Next time, if you got a gig down there, I would definitely say that's
okay.
Because again, Utz, another iconic Baltimore, Maryland brand, and they're just potato chips with Old Bay on them, but they're great.
Utz. It's also fun to say. Utz. What's your favorite brand? Utz.
It's the sound you can make when you're wasted and you need a snack.
Right. When potato chips is too hard to say.
Yeah.
Utz.
Utz and be like, got it, bro.
Got it.
I
love Old Bay too, my man.
Yeah. So that's the environment that I grew up in, where if someone tells me they were born in 1990, I might say, oh, okay.
Oh, I see. I
think that's how...
You're just a trusting soul. See, I'm
trusting, naive.
Right. See, I'm like cynical and like, I don't believe anything or anyone. So like, that's kind of the other side of the coin. Like, you want to raise like a cynical, like street smart kid. Like you want them to be street smart, but you also want them to eventually open their heart, like learn to love, like it's that kind of thing.
Exactly. If we were making the cliched romantic comedy, you're like the career-minded, super busy, focused one. And then someone just shows up and it's like, well, actually, I will solve all of your problems through being carefree.
Right.
I've never had a concern.
And I'll be like, teach me how to be carefree. And then it'll be like in like Sweet November where like, I'm going to blindfold you and then you'll follow me around the room. Like, I won't fall for that shit.
Yeah. I wonder if that plot became such a common trope because of just the nature of American society. I don't want to say the patriarchy and try to sound like I'm super thoughtful, but you never see the reverse. I can't think of too many movies where the reverse is the case, where there's a super career-minded dude and then he meets a carefree girl and she teaches him how to loosen up.
Yeah. Well, there's Manic Pixie Girl. Does that a lot. I
that's
think
true.
Manic Pixie, like...
The Manic Pixie Dream Girl?
Manic Pixie...
Yeah.
Wait, what is... Manic Pixie Dream Girl.
Yes.
Yeah, she does that for the guy. Where he's like, I need to do this. And she's like, oh my God, my hair is purple. And he's like, now I know how to love. See? It's just that simple.
There's easily 5 studios we could walk into if that pitch and get money.
Right. I think it's the voice, too.
Yeah. It's like, oh my God, my hair is purple.
I wear different socks on each foot. Sometimes I only wear one sock. I'm so crazy.
Let's go to a place where the drinks are in mason jars.
Right.
What?
Now I know how to love. That's what I need. I need someone to be like, let's go to a place where the drinks are in what?
Served in a broken light bulb.
Right. I was going to say broken light bulb. And then I looked around the room and I was like, let's, like served in a in an R2D2 body, and I'd be like, oh my god. Yeah.
The reason I bring up the broken light bulb is because my other big memory of you, other than the drive to Maryland, is my time when I was the door guy at the Laughing Devil.
Oh my god!
Because I think I first met you when I was the door guy there and doing the She Devil Festival.
Yes.
That's where I first met you. I think I'd seen you in like promo stuff because I had known Caitlin for a while.
Yes.
And then I was like, oh, I know your tour mate.
Right.
She hits me sometimes, but
that's right.
She's
and
nice.
I was like, Caitlin thinks that's adorable, and you're like, it is. Oh, you're like, she hits everyone. I'm like, yes, she punches everyone.
Yeah. Well, no, because a reoccurring joke is that because she accidentally poked me in the eye at an open mic once, so that's like a go-to bit. But so yeah, and now that the Laughing Devil is now the standing room, they have drinks and light bulbs there.
Nice.
I haven't been there recently, but
in actual light bulbs, or no? It's like a cartoon light bulb.
I mean, I don't know if it was ever functional. It's definitely been modified in some way to not be dangerous to serve a drink in.
I would hope. Yes.
Yeah, but it's basically like and then they still give you a cup of ice that the light bulb is sitting in, but your beverage is in the light bulb.
What the hell? All right, I have to go there.
Yeah, it's super fancy. Not that the Laughing Devil wasn't also its own unique kind of fancy.
Correct.
But the standing room has like ratcheted up a bunch.
I don't think I've been there in a minute, so I need to get booked or just wander in as a patron.
Yeah.
I'll be damned if I go to a comedy show as a patron. Not me. I'm on the stage on nothing.
On the stage on nothing. That
on
is
the
what
stage, or I sneak in after midnight and go. Yeah.
So this kind of this'll bleed into. Do you do I'm curious how comedy comes into for you. Are you a fan of comedy early, and then or does that come later?
I was a fan of comedy early. We were talking about it recently. Where were we? What were we watching? Oh, we watched. I don't know how old you are, but do you remember a movie called Dirty Rotten Scoundrels with Steve Martin and
Yes.
Michael Caine? I saw that in the theater when I was a very wee lass. Mm-hmm. And I think that's one of the first movies where I admired Steve Martin for being seemingly effortlessly funny. Mm-hmm. Like, he doesn't look like he's trying that hard. It's sort of it's like low key hilarious.
Yeah.
Like, everything he does is funny to me. Mm-hmm. And it was when I was like a little girl. So like I've been a fan of like his. Mm-hmm. And then I think I saw like Three Amigos, which he's in, and is hilarious. But yeah, I wanted to be a funny person like really early.
Really early on.
Yeah.
So you want to be Steve Martin early on, or
Yes.
just yeah?
I wanted to be Carrie Martin. I wanted to marry him. No, I wanted to be like him, just like entertaining without making it look like I was trying that hard.
Yeah.
Or he's just like doing his own thing, and then everyone's around him dying.
Which is the best kind of funny to be, because the eternally on funny is tiring after a while.
Yes, the Jim Carrey funny is also great in movies, but you get the feeling that you couldn't hang out with him for more than 20 minutes without wanting to like blow your brains out.
Exactly. I feel that way sometimes too, because like, I mean, I love hanging out with comedians and trying to make each other laugh, but sometimes I also just like hanging out with comedians and like being a person. Sometimes also.
Yeah.
Trying to play like apples to apples or Cards Against Humanity with a room of comedians is a 17-hour commitment.
Because everyone's out doing everyone.
Yeah, everyone's got to do a bit, and then you got to do 3 riffs on the bit per person.
Right. Oh my God. Yeah, no, totally. Those games are hard with comedians. And then Trivial Pursuit is hard with comedians because everyone's got to chat between every... Mm-hmm. You know, if you get the wrong answer, everyone has to riff on you for how dumb you are for your wrong answer.
Right.
If you get it right, everyone has to make fun of you for being a nerd and knowing it. Yeah, I find that Trivial Pursuit takes longer with comics too.
Yeah.
Just because you can't win. Like.
Yeah, basically, you can win, but whoever wins will who have gotten the best joke. It's like an informal writer's room.
Right.
As a social
like,
activity.
How did you know that? You know.
Uh-huh.
Right. Freaking nerd. Right.
Yeah. So you're into Steve into Steve Martin early. I'm curious, and is most of your time in Queens? Because I get this feeling that Queens is almost that Astoria, maybe still now, is still kind of viewed as like getting away from the city.
Yeah,
Kinda.
it kind of is. Well, I mean, I spend probably most days in Manhattan in one way or another, just because that's where like a lot of other stuff is. But left to my own devices, I don't know if I mean, I have a day off tomorrow where I don't have anything planned all day, which by design, like and then I finally decided to go hang out with a friend, and she's in Brooklyn, and it's supposed to be super warm, so I might walk from Queens to Brooklyn, which can be done and is actually faster than the G train.
I believe that. Yes.
But like a day without Manhattan that doesn't faze me as like a missing day. I don't need to go into Manhattan every day. I don't know.
Right on.
Queens is still sort of it's quieter. Like speaking of Caitlin lives in the West Village now, and it's mayhem. It's complete and total chaos
all the time.
All the time. And I'm like, I can't. You have to get away from that energy.
Yeah.
Even for a minute to just sleep and collect your thoughts. Caitlin doesn't. She thrives on that.
Yeah.
Like she loves that. But I need both. I need like to get away and to like decide to go into mayhem.
Yeah, I'm kind of the same way. I think there's a part of me that's very good at doing nothing because of where I'm from.
Right.
My girlfriend cannot handle it. Like if she's somewhere where there's nothing, or she's not making plans to do something, she'll lose her damn mind.
Yeah, that's how I am.
But I also I kind of I like having a retreat.
Yes.
Like a little oasis kind of thing.
Yeah, I want an oasis. I want my apartment to be my oasis.
Yeah.
And then all the mayhem and insanity is like just outside my door. Or like 2 stops on the subway is like mayhem.
Yeah.
And
I like being close to it.
Yeah. That's how I was in college too. Like I wanted the dorm. I didn't want the weirdo dorm that was too quiet, and I didn't want the dorm in the middle of the mayhem. I wanted the dorm room that was 1 floor away from the mayhem. You know, so I could easily get to it, but then I could retreat to my room if it was too nuts. So I think I've like always been that way. Like I wanted, 1 hallway over from the chaos.
Absolutely. And then deciding to do comedy is like a somewhat pretty serious commitment to a level of chaos at all times.
It's totally true.
And did you know you were going to do stand-up, or did you think you were going to be an actor, or did you want to do sketch or improv?
I think originally I thought I was going to be an actor. And then, let's see, I was doing sketch and improv. Boom. Handle it.
Was this in high school?
No, this was after college.
Curious real quick, where did you go to high school? Because you pick your high school in New York, yeah?
No, I tested into LaGuardia. So I went to FAME. It's like the...
Nice. My girlfriend went to LaGuardia.
Really?
Also. Yes.
Wait, what year? She's younger.
She's 2 years... I'm turning 32. My high school class is 2004, so I guess she'd be 2000 and... I guess she'd be 2002, maybe?
Okay. So we didn't overlap.
Okay.
But that's cool. What was her major?
Theater design.
Wow. Yeah, see, that was a new major.
Yeah, so she was like on the... Yeah, she didn't want to be on the stage. She wanted to be behind the scenes.
Yes. So I tested in for fine arts. And then I thought they make it sort of, not easy, but it's easier to switch majors sophomore year than it is to test in to another major. So I thought I'll switch to drama my sophomore year, but by then I didn't like any of the drama kids.
Yeah.
And I had all my friends in art, so I just stayed in art. And so I did art. And then I kind of gave up art, went to college, graduated from college.
Where'd you go to college?
At the College of Santa Fe. It's in my act. Well, it was in my, because it went out of business.
Oh, yeah.
So, yeah, there's
New Mexico?
In New Mexico, yeah. There's no more College of Santa Fe. It totally went under. So, prove me wrong. Like, I think in my bit, I'm like, so I have 5 PhDs. Go look it up. You can't because there's no college.
I think I remember.
Yeah,
this
that was an old bit. Yeah,
this is a good bit. Yeah. So New York to Santa Fe.
Yeah.
How was that?
It was amazing. I wanted to do something different. Something opposite of New York. And Santa Fe is definitely entirely opposite of New York.
Yeah.
Everything is different.
Yeah, I have no concept of Santa Fe at all except for that song from Newsies.
What's the song from Newsies?
Oh, it's just called Santa Fe. In the movie, Christian Bale's character, I love the fact that Batman is in Newsies.
Oh my God.
Sings a song about Santa Fe, and then also in Rent.
Rent is the one I know. Yeah,
Rent's the big one that has the song about Santa Fe.
Open up a restaurant in Santa Fe. Yeah.
And I don't know how Santa Fe became the idea, go west, young man idea, because I figured if you're that close, why not just continue to California?
Right.
But I guess maybe it's not as expensive as California. I don't know. So how is Santa Fe for you?
Oh my God, it was amazing.
Yeah?
It was fantastic. It's beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
It's surrounded by mountains. I mean, just beautiful sunsets. People would pull over on the side of the road to watch a sunset.
Nice.
That doesn't happen here. And then people would talk about it the next day.
People would talk about, the sunset last night.
Yo, you see that last night? Yo, that was dope.
Uh-huh.
I was like, what? Yo, that sky was mad red. It was puffy little clouds and shit.
Yeah, and then it got purple towards
Then it got purple toward, and then when the sun finally, so good.
Oh, so good. And then that moment, right before it was dark, when there was still kind of light, but you could see the stars.
Right.
Holy shit, I transcended multiple planes.
Totes with the transcends. Yeah, it was like that. And then...
So there's this sort of deserty spiritual kind of vibe?
There's a deserty spiritual kind of vibe. There's only 3 types of people racially in Santa Fe, which is different than New York.
Very.
So in New York, especially growing up in Queens, see now I'm pulling Queens cred.
Of course,
Here we go, Queens cred.
Queens cred.
Growing up in Sunnyside, you get lots of Asian people. You get lots of Indian people.
Yeah.
You get lots of Greek people. You get tons of Hispanic and Latino and Puerto Rican and just everybody.
Mm-hmm. There's also Turkish people in Sunnyside
there's
as well.
Everybody.
Yeah.
So, but in Santa Fe, they have 3 races, and that's it. You're white, you're Native American, or you're Mexican. And that's it.
Wow.
So I missed Japanese people. I didn't see a Japanese person for 4 years. And I missed Indian people, not Native American Indian, but dot, not feather.
Exactly.
And things like that. So it's racially very different. And, there were 4 black people in all of New Mexico. And that kind of thing. So I didn't like that. I like it better.
Yeah, you like being around a lot of...
I like the melting pot much better.
Yeah. Oh, no, me too. I really enjoy just, kind of being part of a mixed group.
Yeah.
Because where I grew up, I think, again, there was maybe 6 black people.
Right.
And there was, there was my one Asian friend, and I didn't meet... Jewish people were a chapter in my textbook, but I didn't meet a Jewish person until I got to college.
Very different upbringing.
Very.
So yeah, my dad is Jewish, which means I'm half Jewish. But as you know, you can't be half Jewish. Your mom has to either be Jewish or not.
Right.
So I'm technically not Jewish, but I do have a Jewish dad. And I went to college, and there were people who had never met. I was the most Jewish person they'd ever met.
Right.
They'd never met a Jew. Until me, and I don't even count.
Right, you're not.
So they had all these questions for me, and I'm like, I wasn't.
I don't really know.
Mitzvah, I don't know. And it was just wild to me. I'm like, how did you grow up? I just assumed half my friends were Jewish.
Right.
Up. I don't know.
Oh, that's
and then,
so crazy. That's so crazy.
I mean, at PS11, there's a Korean festival, which I didn't think was a New York City kid thing. I thought every school has a Korean festival.
Yeah.
No, not every. No. Santa Fe elementary schools don't have a Korean
festival. They don't have a Korean festival?
No.
I don't even know if my neck of the woods we had school parade day that was just around Halloween, and then there was fair day. You could have the day off to go to the state fair.
Oh my God.
That was actual thing, and I think the closest to Japanese culture was Dragon Ball Z and Pokemon.
Wow.
That's what our idea of Japan was.
I think we had Japanese Day probably. And you have to honor all of the holidays for every Chinese New Year was a big thing. And then my best friend was Indian. I mean from Indian.
Yeah.
And so I learned all about that. And you don't realize that you pick up all of the like cultural things from like all of this. So now if I meet an Indian person, I can like talk about Indian holidays because I grew up with this friend.
Oh yeah, exactly.
I'm like, oh my God.
Like I went to an Indian wedding last year, so
aren't they the best?
Oh, so great!
So
like
many,
I think I normally don't put too much thought into my clothes, but when I put on that traditional dress and I got the shoes, and I'm amazed they make those shoes in my size. I was like, this is comfortable.
It's comfortable. Yeah,
it is
it's
so
nice.
Comfortable. I dig it.
Indian culture isn't afraid of color.
No.
Oh my God, the colors.
So much color.
So much color. It's like the most colorful wedding. It's glorious. I love Indian weddings. They're so
Yeah, that's what my lady and I try to do with this place is if you go to like if you go to Chile or Buenos Aires, there's actually here's the example. There's a neighborhood in Buenos Aires called La Boca, which translates to little mouth or the mouth, and it's all of the buildings are like just painted brightly colors, like 3 or 4 different colors. It's
nice. I love that.
It's pretty.
I think
it's
I've
pretty
seen
cool
photos
to see.
of that. Like I feel like I can picture that, or maybe that's.
Yeah, the neighborhood itself is kind of lower middle class economically, but this one particular area with all these buildings is just super busy all the time, and it's pretty spectacular.
I want to see it.
Yeah, and what did you go to college for?
I studied psychology because then I could unlock the secrets of the human mind. As you do.
Absolutely.
And then once I did that, I was like, well, now what do I do? And then I decided to go into sketch and improv.
This was in New Mexico?
No, I immediately hightailed it back to New York after graduation because I had had enough of that lifestyle.
Right. You're like, I got to see some Japanese people.
I was like, I missed some goddamn actual sushi. So, yeah, I don't want to go to the restaurant that's Chinese/Japanese food anymore. I'm like, well, which one is it? It's different.
That is a very specific thing that irks me too. If I see like Japanese food and Chinese food on a menu,
I'm like, what? Where are you?
I start losing my mind.
Yeah, I'm like, where are you from? You can't have sushi dumplings. Like, come on, pick one.
Or like noodle or like a noodle place. It's like, no, you cannot have bibimbap with udon and knife peel. These are 3 different things.
Pick a culture.
Get it together, man.
So I had to come back to New York to be snotty about my Asian food. Because it's like,
No, I get it. I get it.
So, and then I was, doing jobs, trying to, getting that like 22-year-old ball rolling on living your adult life. And then I eventually joined a sketch and improv group. And, when you join groups like that, you have a bunch of people all trying to get on the same page with different levels of intensity for wanting to do it. So if one person's gung-ho and one person is like halfway in, it's like infuriating.
Oh my God.
For the people who want it more.
Yeah.
So then I was one of the people who wanted it more. I was like, let's make this a really successful thing. And then finally one day I was like, you know what? I'm going to just go strike out on my own and see if I can just do it on, I'm like, what is comedy but not a one-person sketch written from first person? I could do that.
Yeah.
And that's, of course, not what it is, really. But, that's how I phrased it in my head. I was like, I'll just be alone on stage doing a one-person sketch that is a set.
And did you do that? Were you going to open mics and doing bizarre characters?
No, I wasn't doing bizarre characters, but, I think when you're a new comic, and not just for me, but, any new comic starting out, you don't edit enough. Like you just tell rambling stories that made your friends laugh when you told them that aren't punchline based, So you're like, oh, this really made my friends and family laugh when I told this around the dinner table, and then that doesn't work on stage.
Yeah, no.
Because you haven't edited it. You have to write the punchlines.
Right. Yeah. And then you have to have a bunch of them. That was something big for me to learn, because when I started, I didn't want to talk hardly.
Right.
So I was just doing setup punch, very, very ripping off Dimitri Martin.
Right.
In tone and style. So the learning curve for me was to be able to talk like how I talk to people in real life.
Right.
And to tell a story.
Right.
And then also, when you're telling a story, you got to work punchlines into the story. Otherwise, you're just you're this on-stage equivalent of that dude at the bar who's telling a story that goes nowhere.
Oh my God! Right. My friend Troy has the best name. This is not mine. This is from Troy, but he goes, the name of that guy is the Punisher. And it's so fitting. Like everyone knows what you're talking about. Like you're like the guy at the bar who won't shut up and you can't get out of the conversation.
Yeah.
He's the Punisher. And like you never want to be the Punisher on stage.
No.
You never want to be the rambling guy at the party.
Definitely. Yeah, definitely not.
But yeah.
You don't want to be the person that everyone's trying to get away from.
Right. Everyone's like, hey, that's great.
Yeah.
Like
So
read the social cues. Like get out. And I think with stand-up is like that. If you have a bit and it's just not going well, to like read the audience and get out, like just go to a different bit.
Yeah,
it's okay. Like not everything's gonna hit. Just move on.
Oh yeah,
yeah,
absolutely. Because if you're in the middle of a long thing and then
I've bailed. Yeah,
feel people starting to leave, it's like there's a couple things in the middle, but why don't I just get to the good part and then we'll try the next.
Yeah,
bit.
Or I'll just go back to the thing that made you, like. If the crowd is too drunk, they don't have the attention span for like a longer bit.
Oh,
you got to move to your shorter stuff. If it's like an older crowd, they don't want to hear potty humor.
Yeah.
Like that kind of, like just to know that the audience a little bit.
Oh yeah, because you do a lot of road stuff. You do a lot of shows in a lot of different places. So I imagine you have your like core of like, this is my act and this is who I am.
Yep.
But now I've got to switch it up a little. I've got to switch it up to entertain this group of people.
It's true. Theaters tend to run a little bit older and a little bit smarter. No offense.
Yeah.
But theater groups are a little smarter and older. The comedy clubs tend to run a little younger and a little drunker. Which is good and bad. Like you just have to alter your, I wouldn't say the F word 700 times in any set, but if I'm going to say it at all, it'll be for a younger crowd.
Yeah, because I think they kind of like that.
They kind of like that. I mean, they respond to it.
Yeah.
I'm not going to say the C word, to like an older crowd. They just recoil.
Yeah.
They just won't have it. But like a younger crowd in the right spot just thinks that's the funniest thing they've ever heard.
Yeah. Have you ever had and then I'll get back to, I want to get back to your origin story, but I love talking about this stuff because have you ever found when you're doing clubs specifically, because I really love alternative comics and and the scene of alternative comedy and like the Bell House and Union Hall and the back rooms and cool bars in Brooklyn. I love those places, and I love bits about TV shows that maybe me and only a few other people have heard about. I like all that stuff, but I really want to get better and maybe this is also because I'm not in that world that much,
right?
From a booking standpoint. I respect the club comic who can take the stage, who gets on stage in the club and has a really energetic delivery and is doing unique stuff and makes it work for that room.
Right.
Do you have times where, I guess to use a phrase I think I heard Blaine Capatch say, are you wrapping your stuff around the bat, or do you ever find yourself going, okay, or are there some crowds that are just like, I only want to hear about sex and drinking? Maybe. Because that's the stereotype of the comedy club audience is that they're dumb.
Is that they're dumb, or that they just want to hear stuff about like sex and drugs and drinking? Yeah. And like, I mean, you think like the standard, like not, I don't know, like a bachelor party or something is going to start off at a comedy club before they go to like their strip club, right? Or something. And like, I don't know. I feel like Seinfeld works clean, and if he showed up, people would damn well pay attention to him. I don't think that's necessarily true. I think it's the delivery of the person and what they're interested. You can make anything funny. Yeah, really. I think that I've seen it work too. Either way. Yeah, my learning curve there is doing stuff that is, I guess,
easier to get or maybe more broad early, and then once people like me, I'll do what I can do.
I do the edgier stuff later in the set because hopefully they'll like me by then. I hope.
Exactly.
And if they don't, well, then it's their loss. But, won't be as funny to them.
Oh yeah, and even if, because I've performed in different. I once did a show in Istanbul, Turkey, in front of mostly non-English speakers.
That's amazing.
And I was bombing for 6 of the 10 minutes, but I closed really big for the last 4.
Yeah.
So I still consider it a win.
Definitely. Definitely.
Especially because it was like not my country, not like totally different.
What was do you remember the bit? What did you end with? That hit in Turkey.
I did a short story about almost getting beat up at a soccer match in Spain.
Okay.
Because I wore the wrong jersey.
Okay.
And I closed by saying I'm trying to learn Turkish, and I learned to say goodbye in Turkish. You can say alasmadik is a formal goodbye. So to say goodbye in Turkish, you say alas, small dick.
Right.
And then my big closer was, we have that as a goodbye in English as well. And I say alas, small dick to the audience and leave.
Nice.
So that got a big pop.
Right. So that's hilarious.
So I was like, I was riding on that. But then the guy I opened for, who's also as tall as me, he crushed for an hour. And he took
English.
In Turkish.
See.
Crushed for an hour, took an intermission, proceeded to crush for another hour.
Right. But you had a language barrier. I mean, it's almost like you can't really judge it when it's not even your like native tongue,
Yeah, I guess part of me had this idea that I would just annihilate, and then I would become the new king of comedy in Turkey.
Maybe. I mean, give it another shot. Like maybe you need 2 shows there to know that.
Yeah, I would do it again. Like I hear like comics like who at like Times Square clubs and like, oh, language barrier. I'm like, you want to know about language barrier?
I mean, I do. There's a bunch of shows that take place in hostels, and that's a good place to practice language barrier stuff, like where you have to use simpler language and not use idioms that are strictly American and not talk about American pop culture. And like, like I have a bit where I talk about my stepdad. Okay, does stepdad translate? Does every culture have a word for stepdad? And would someone who speaks Japanese and moved and is visiting America for 3 weeks, would they know what stepdad is? Is that something you would pick up in a guidebook? I don't know. So you have to dumb it down a little bit, or maybe not use that bit, or like. Yeah,
that's definitely something I learned when I started doing it, getting to perform internationally was, and I thought it was a good thing of just realizing how much of my act refers on a knowledge of American pop culture.
Exactly, I know, me too. And you don't think of it when you're writing it.
Right, you just think, it's like the same as English.
Right.
Is this
What's
TV
the deal
show
with Taylor Swift? No, I guess she's international, but yeah, I know what you mean.
Yeah, I think that makes you. I definitely think I respect. I look up to that because I don't think it's dumbing it down. If anything, I think you are hitting into more universal human truths.
Right.
And again, you're still being you because you're living your life and you're just talking about these common universal experiences. But you're relating to people who have a very different background from you.
Well, I mean,
that's a victory.
Like, if you're like, what do comics talk about? What are like the universe? Well, we all talk about how our parents are crazy, relationship sucks, and my boss is a dick.
Yeah.
And these are global themes. Like this
Absolutely.
is like around the world. Everyone has crazy parents. Everyone has a job they hate, and everyone finds relationships difficult. Mm-hmm. That like you're not a unique comic if you're like, I have this crazy bit about how my boss is a dick.
Right.
You're like, that's universal, the whole world.
Exactly.
Right. So, or like, I have a crazy uncle. Yeah, buddy. So like I think that's why those themes come up a lot in comedy because that's relatable to everything.
Yeah.
I don't know.
No, I think so. I mean, Gabriel Iglesias sells out arenas around the world talking about his family and crazy people he's met and his crazy friends.
Yeah,
so I think
there's a reason that works.
Yeah, and I used to, maybe when I was a little younger and I thought I was like the Kurt Cobain of comedy. I might have looked down on somebody like that. But now there's like, he's just a nice guy giving a lot of people a great evening.
Right. Did you study music? Is that why you wanted to be Kurt Cobain?
I went to school for theater. I played guitar. I've played guitar since I started doing theater and playing guitar the same year, 10th grade of high school. So I was going to be in I really wanted to be in the next Blink-182.
Nice.
That was the dream.
You were going to be Blink-183?
Yes.
That was your band name?
That's what I really wanted to be. Like,
good.
I was going to be some sort of like moody, sort of like emotional singer-songwriter.
Did you wear a lot of eye makeup? Was there like a...
Never did eye makeup, but I did...
That's probably why.
I did mohawk my hair a bunch.
Perfect.
And, Diet green, purple sometimes.
Yep. I had blue hair.
I definitely did that, but I had a couple, and I'm curious to see maybe where this interlaps, and I wanted to hear some of your early days of starting stand up in New York, right?
Right. Yes.
My last punk rock band in college broke up, and because my co-lead singer went to college in Iowa. My bass player was a pathological liar, and my drummer was high.
Well, okay. First of all, high drummer is like
kind of an oxymoron.
It's kind of. I was gonna say it's kind of redundant. It's kind of redundant. Like every drummer is high. Like that's not a reason to not have that.
He was also like 6 years younger than me, so it was a big.
So he was like a high 10-year-old
standpoint. And I was in class and feeling like the remnants of like. Trying to that same thing when you were doing improv, like I felt like I really wanted it, but no one else really wanted it, and I didn't have the confidence or the wherewithal to go it on my own because I'm not a front man.
Right.
And that's when stand-up comedy open mic Sunday nights, Damon's Bar and Grill, hosted by T. Brad Hudson.
Oh, with his candles. See, it all comes back to T. Brad.
Yes.
But then you went there to do music, or you went there?
I went there to do stand up. I was in jazz history class on a Friday, and I said, this weekend I'm gonna go do this stand up comedy open mic.
Holy crap.
And I drove out to Hunt Valley because it used to be at Damon's before it was at High Tops.
Okay.
It's just a little further up York Road. Little shout out. And I was like, I was like looking around. I was like, hi, I want to sign up for the open mic. It's like, oh, sure. No, and yeah, well, it's late tonight, so we can get you on. And I had like my 5 or 6 Mitch Hedberg-esque jokes because I loved him.
Oh my God, me too.
And I was like talking to some of the other comics and like, oh, this is my first time. It's like, oh, well, don't get nervous if it's quiet, just keep going. And I know it's going to sound like I'm lying or blowing smoke up my ass, but I did decently the first time.
Right.
And then I caught the bug, and then T-Brad was like, dude, you got to come back next week. And then I got on the email list and went like every week for a year.
Yeah. Nice.
So that was my experience. And of course, like the open mics in a lot of cities that aren't New York or Los Angeles feel like shows. There are people there to watch, and they'll laugh.
That's what's different about New York.
Whereas New York, I feel like I feel like New York just kicks you and says fuck, gives you the finger and says fuck you for doing stand up for a long time.
Yeah.
So do you remember where your first open mic was?
Yes, it was at okay, maybe I lied. It was at
Queens or Manhattan?
It was in Manhattan. It was off McDougal, not on McDougal, but it was around the corner, and it was down some steps, and I am blanking on the name of it.
What year?
2007.
2007. Oh, that was the same year I started too. So
excellent.
We're both 10 years in.
Our 11-year anniversary this year.
Yes.
So yeah, it was at the Comedy Underground.
Ah, yes, I've heard of this place.
And it was on 3rd, around the corner, and the guy who was my Sherpa, the guy who like brought me that night, said one thing is that you're gonna do really badly your first time because you wrote all these jokes in your head and everyone's laughing at everything you say in your head, and then when you say them out loud, nobody's gonna laugh and you're gonna feel terrible. So the trick is to do it twice.
Yeah.
He's like, you have to get up a second time the same night.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, I'll just do whatever. And so then we did the second mic. So I did 2 in one night. And then he taught me the dick move where you sign up at one and then go to the other. And then by the time you get back to the first one, I'm like, you're so shady. But I learned that the very first night I did comedy. And then I think the second one was at the back room of some bar that I forget. But even by the second one, I did better.
Yeah.
Right? And even though it was only like an hour later, I was like, I'm so much better than I was when I first started an hour ago.
Right.
Yeah. I'm like, oh, what a noob I was. Now now I get it.
Yeah.
And then you're hooked. And then you just get on a bunch of those mailing lists. And I think Giggle Chick, is there still Giggle Chick?
I think Giggle Chick still exists. Bad Slava was the big one for me. And then I think freeopenmics.com.
Now that's the one. Now
that's like the one. That's like the one now.
The better one, yeah.
Yeah.
And I think Bad Slava came out after Giggle Chick. Whatever.
Yes.
It does, but yeah, those are like the things. And then you get in with a couple of people and you go to the same ones together, and then like at first you're intimidated because it's cliquey, but then you become part of the clique. And you're like, oh, now I'm in a clique. We're all just laughing at each other.
Right.
We're all just riffing. You're not really writing new material. So you have to get out of your comfort zone, go to new mics, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I remember, I think I went to the Creek for 3 years and felt like I was at a party that I wasn't invited to.
Exactly. The Creek is great, but it does have a cliquey feel for like a lot of those mics. It's like the same 9 people telling the same jokes to the same other 8 people.
Yeah. Like I go there now, like the show I produce is there, and then I go there to do other shows or to eat a burrito, and I definitely am getting that vibe of like because there's like the women and gay people only mic, or they're on certain nights, or there's the other mic, and I don't recognize anyone anymore. So
right.
I feel like
well, I mean, it's also the next generation too. Like, I mean, I go to the Creek for shows that I'm booked on. And every now and then someone will invite me to a mic or something, but like, I don't think I would seek out mics at the Creek. It's just not my scene anymore.
Yeah, I sort of hit the same point.
Yeah.
I got to an area where I was like, the 3 mics a night thing is not helping me grow anymore.
Right.
There was definitely a time where it was,
yes.
and I'm glad I did it, and that's why I moved here, and it helped, and it definitely helped.
Yeah.
But it does get to a point where it
diminishing returns. Yeah.
And you're like, I got to start working smarter.
Right.
As opposed to harder.
Yes.
So I got to start producing stuff. I got to start trying to get booked on other produced stuff.
Right.
I got to put my own things together.
Yeah. Definitely. I have to start sucking up to different people.
Yeah.
And like making my own thing. Yeah. I mean, that's key. And I agree that like there was a time in my life where I tried to do like 15 shows, and you're like, no, it's too exhausting.
Yeah.
And then you don't have energy to like live your life and like write new stuff.
Yeah. To get like have new experiences.
Right. I'm like, if you don't go to a party every now and then, nothing funny is going to happen to you on your way to the show.
Yeah.
Like
you just become like one of those meta types as like, oh, at this mic, this thing happened. And,
right.
and it's like the most niche alt thing possible where you're only appealing to other open mics comics.
And then it's like a funny conversation I had with my mom, because it's the only other thing you do is like go to mics and talk to your mom. So like, you're like, oh, you're not growing.
Yeah. I haven't seen a movie in 3 years because I've been doing all the mics.
Oh my God, I joined MoviePass. Have you heard of MoviePass?
Oh my gosh, I have so heard of MoviePass.
Have you joined it?
I have not joined it yet.
So you know how I'm super cynical and I think everything's a scam?
Right.
So I joined MoviePass only to prove that it was a scam.
Yeah.
And it's not a scam.
It's not a scam?
I'm seeing free movies.
Oh my gosh.
I mean, they're not free. It feels free.
Feels really free.
And I've almost made my money back.
Spectacular.
On free movie. It's not a scam. And I don't work for a movie. I have no stakes.
Sure.
But like, get MoviePass. It's insane.
I need to get one because so I can see all this stuff, be part of the conversation.
I don't know how. I mean, I'm not doing stand up anymore. I'm just seeing movies straight, like all day, like all night. Yeah, it's just movies for me at this point.
Yeah.
Just so I can be part of the conversation. But now I don't go out to hang out with people. I just go see movies by myself.
Right. Like, that sounds great.
It's amazing. Go join up with MoviePass.
I need to do it because I would love to, because there's so much stuff I want to see that my girlfriend doesn't want to see, and there's so much she wants to see that I have no interest in seeing.
Yeah. So
I got to get on that.
You guys are the perfect candidates.
Yeah.
Get your own separate MoviePass accounts. You can walk to the theater together, go see different movies, and then meet up after to walk.
We've done that once. That's
I think
nice.
that's the perfect couple thing to do.
Yeah. I dig it because I didn't want to see Office Christmas Party, but I did want to see Rogue One. Something else I wanted to ask you. A couple years ago, you did Caroline's. How was that?
Oh, it was fantastic. It was really fun. The Breakout Artist series.
Yes.
Yeah, it's great.
That's awesome.
It was like the equivalent of my wedding. Like I'll never have a wedding, but like I did my Caroline show. It's fantastic.
That's awesome. And do you do road gigs a lot still, or
every now and then? I mean, it's slowed when Cake. So Cake is on hiatus because everyone had a baby.
Right.
So we're waiting for everyone's babies to go to college, and then we'll restart the tour. But yeah, so I don't do as much road work anymore just because it doesn't come up as often.
Right.
If I happen to be traveling somewhere, I'll try to pick up a gig where I'm going. But like I haven't sought it out that much. I did like Connecticut show a couple of weeks ago, and like things like within like a 4-hour driving radius of New York.
Sure.
But no, if someone wants to book me in Iowa and fly me out there, I'm happy to do it.
Yeah.
I'm just not going out of my way.
I know exactly what you mean. I book I do my own like co-headlining shows with people sometimes just because I want to move towards being able to do that.
Yep.
But I'm at the point now where and maybe I'm wrong. I feel like if the clubs were going to embrace me at a certain point, or if I was going to start getting in there, it would have happened. So I'm focusing less on how do I show face at clubs and start working up there, and focusing more on how do I become a draw myself.
Right. Well, you make a product that the club thinks is a draw, whatever it is. So you invent a tour that's like the tall guy in glasses tour or whatever. And you're like, hey, book this, Yeah. Right.
Yeah, that's been where most of my
don't use tall guy in glasses though. That's taken.
I wasn't good.
That's taken. Find a different hook.
Okay, sounds good. I'll get a different.
Right.
thing.
Be like the weeping punching man or something.
That's very similar to what the name of my one-man storytelling show is called.
The Weeping Punching Man?
Well, it's currently called Laughing Through the Sad, but I think I'm going to change it.
Okay.
To something, because there's too many variations on that. Laughing instead of crying. I feel like there's a couple of one-person shows that are some variation on.
It's so sad. It's happy.
Yeah.
Right.
Keep the same thing, but like I'm going to do something else. But I would love to do like a small, like very small black box theater run doing that.
Yes.
That show.
And you could do that. And you can call up little theaters around the country that are just looking for content.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And like, so you send them a little press kit, or like you'd write a fantastic email or something.
Yeah. That's fun to me. And doing this is fun as well.
Well, yeah. I mean, it's great.
Yeah.
Just get your name out there. I just recorded my album. That was the
awesome.
the thing I did, and I'm still trying to like find the best title for it, and it's really hard to name an album because I don't want it to be lewd,
right?
Because I want it to sound like anyone could buy it, Yeah. And I don't.
You could always go. And this is, and I'll have a couple other things. This ended up being a really great comedy chat. I dug that. I dug this. This podcast
Good.
we did.
I get an A+. Do I get an A+?
A+ gold star.
We never get graded anymore, and I love it.
There's always like you could always, if there's like a bit or a punchline that you have, that's always a good place.
And I think of all my best jokes. I tried that, and I think I'm going to allude to one of my jokes in the title of the album. But like, it's really hard to pick one joke. Because I'm like, there's no single joke that that is like a summary of you as a comic. Yes, and I'm like, how do I sum up myself? You do like a lot of like introspection and be, and then you don't want to give away your best punchline either.
Yeah.
Which is probably in my head because nobody would guess that from like the title. No one's like, which comedy album should I buy? So I'm trying to have like a boring title and like an amazing album.
Yeah.
And then of course it'll be the first album, and the second one can be like bouncing off the booger farts, or will be the second. Right. That'll be my second album.
That'll be the second album.
Right, but the first one will have like a straight lace name.
Yeah.
And don't steal bouncing off the booger farts. That's mine.
I want it. I'm doing a storytelling show at the Sidewalk Cafe that I'm planning to record for not a full length, but like an EP, like 2 stories that aren't part of my hour show. And I have the plan for that, and it's based off of a very specific story that I think you might remember. Because
what's the story? Can you tell me or not tell me?
Well, you might recall when we were driving to Maryland, I had just started dating a walrus trainer. Does that sound familiar?
Yes. Wait, tell me more. Although you'd think I'd remember. You think walrus trainer would?
Yeah. Well,
I remember you had just started dating someone.
That was her.
You had
that's not who I'm with. Who I'm with now.
No, yeah.
But so that was what her job was. So over Christmas, when a friend of mine was in town, we got to go and meet a walrus, and I have this fun story about going to meet the walrus.
Wow.
And I want to call it. I might just call it the Walrus EP, and I want to get a manga artist, because I'm really into like manga and Japanese comic books. Get someone to draw me like a superhero with like a walrus as my best friend,
as your sidekick. Sidekick friend. You wouldn't be riding the walrus. You wouldn't be like symbolically like overpowering it, riding it like as if it was a horse.
Well, that doesn't really happen. But maybe I would have the walrus wearing a top hat and a monocle and like no karate. A fancy karate knowing walrus. Yeah. You know, just something run of the mill.
Yeah, I hate it when I see a sloppy walrus.
Yeah,
I'm like, where's your monocle?
Don't want a sloppy walrus.
The fuck, man. Where's your top hat? What are you, a farmer?
Yeah, I don't know why I always imagine walruses in top hats and monocles, but it just seems to fit.
Right. Well, they should. Yeah. It's like they're like a giant slug.
Essentially, they're a mammal slug.
Basically. Yeah, mammal slug.
Yeah.
Maybe that should be the title. Hey, you, mammal slug. What was mine? Bouncing fart?
Bouncing off the farts or something?
No, bouncing booger farts.
Bouncing booger farts. Yes, that was good.
I think that's a good album title.
I think so. I think if we can come out of this with that as your album title, I'll feel I've really accomplished something.
I think you will have accomplished something because I'm drunk on the LaCroix.
Yeah.
LaCroix.
I've heard some people say LaCroix. I think those people are up their own ass.
Yep.
I've heard some people say, I just say LaCroix.
Yeah, I do too.
Because there's St. Croix, and I think it's spelled similarly. So one more thing I want to ask you. You said you did a NACA trip. What has been your experience with doing NACA and booking colleges, performing at colleges?
If you are going to try to book colleges through NACA, make sure you have representation.
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't do it as a solo comic. What we did was the wrong thing.
You just went in independent.
We got a bunch of we're like, how much is a NACA booth? Okay, it's $1 million. Well, nobody can afford that. Mm-hmm. So why don't we get 14 comics to all put in a couple $100 and then we can buy our own booth.
Uh-huh.
That sounds like a great idea.
Yeah.
But it's not, because you're going up against labels.
Right.
Right. And we're not a label. We're just like some ragtag idiot group of comics.
Group of people.
Yeah.
Group of people with passion.
Like, sitting in an empty booth being like, book us.
Right.
You know?
I have this image. There's this meme that circulates the internet. If you Google Lonely Virgil, he was a professional wrestler in WWF in the 80s.
Right.
But he wasn't like a big star. And now he sells merchandise at not even wrestling conventions, just like any convention. He was even selling merch and autographs in Grand Central Station.
I love it. Do it. I mean, yeah.
So that's what I'm imagining.
That's how it feels. That's how it feels. Like, just imagine like you're going up against like, I don't know, name a comedy label, like Rooftop or something, you know.
Comedy Dynamics or Comedy Central.
Somebody, or what is it? It's blank. I'm blanking.
Comedy Dynamics?
No, it was a different one. But anyway, their booth was decked out in branding and pictures and lighting, and like, you know, and they booked a bunch of the showcases, and they really had like a sharp. And ours was like, we had like this sad banner that we like hung up that morning, and then like I think we printed up pens that were like
Right.
We made up a label name. It was nobody got any bookings. I mean, it was fun as hell to do it. We lost money. I wouldn't, if I were to do it again, I'd want someone else footing the bill for it.
Right.
And then the NACA people, and I don't want to say anything negative lest they ever book me ever, but like they nickel and dime you at the conventions.
Yeah,
So
I've heard it's very expensive.
It's so expensive. And then they're like, so you pay for the booth. Then you have to pay your own admission, even if you're in the booth. Then you need an electricity fee, then the Wi-Fi fee. Then if you want a garbage can in your booth, you need a garbage can fee. Then you need a... if you want to buy lunch, there's a lunch fee and then a thing fee. So you can't get out of there for less than $7 trillion.
Right. They've monetized everything.
Right. So I think it would be worth it if you had the power of like a company with you or behind you.
Yeah.
And then do a bunch of
else,
showcases.
Yeah. Do a bunch of showcases. Just someone else that's handling all of that stuff.
And then at the showcases, unlike regular, quote unquote, regular crowds, college crowds just want to hear you riff on their college. They just want crowd work.
Right.
They want you to go, what's the deal with Penn State, fuckers? And then they'll lose their minds or whatever. Like, I don't even know. If you're like, what is your mascot? A chicken with one testicle? Like, I just made that up. Don't steal that.
I won't.
That's mine. But like, that would shred at like a NACA convention. But not you're like, what's the deal with being married? That's not...
Right.
They don't get that.
Because they're all 18. Because they're the
Right.
freshmen who can't go off campus to drink.
Exactly. So you have to tailor your material to 17-year-olds, sober, well-lit 17-year-olds, and not drunken 25-year-olds. It's different.
Yeah.
It's hard.
Yeah, it sounds like...
But then apparently it's worth it because they pay like a $1 $4
Yeah. Yeah, that's that allure. And then because whenever like you hear like big like headlining comics who don't need to play colleges anymore talk about like PC culture and or what have you on campuses and all, it's crazy now. I would go for the amount of money that I think you can get from college campuses. I would tap dance and talk about macaroni and cheese in your mom's house for an hour for that paycheck.
Yeah, I know. They pay so much money, and the gigs are brutal. Like you're in like the dining hall at 2 p.m. You know, but whatever. Give me $5,000 to stand in a dining hall for 40 minutes.
Yeah, because
be like, what's the deal with dentists? Like,
exactly.
They put braces on you. What?
I think you're winning in that situation.
I mean, why not? Yeah.
I think you've when you're starting at like in the West Village and are doing those like silence open mics in front of a bunch of comedians that are on their phones.
Yep.
I think the victory is to get paid too much to do the same thing to younger people.
Right.
And yeah, maybe they'll tell you not to curse, but I think you've won once the check's in your hand.
Right. Once you can pay your rent by talking about macaroni and cheese, then you've won a level. Like you might not have won like artistically or creatively, but you've won a level of like success that is admirable.
Yeah.
You know, I don't know. Like, I mean, you could win a level of success by like monetizing YouTube. You know, it'd be like an influencer. It depends on your goals. But if your goal is to pay rent, you could do a lot worse than playing colleges. It's the same with corporate gigs.
Oh, yeah.
Corporate gigs pay a $1 $4 and you stand up there and you're like, what's the deal with Tom from accounting?
Right.
Does he love golf or is he cheating on his wife? Am I right? And then, you know, give me $5,000. Just don't steal that bit either.
I won't steal that. I'll steal that bit.
Right. But like that's another like selling out, quote unquote selling out. But you're like, whatever. I paid my rent.
Yeah. I mean, I think the idea of selling out is it's evolved for me. To me, selling out now is doing something you would either not normally do or something you are opposed to for money. So if I take $10,000 to go perform at a KKK rally, that would be an extreme version of sign up, but obviously they're not going to pay that much. It's very
Well, what if they did offer? Like, what if this actually came up and they were like, we think you're the funniest guy we've ever seen.
Mm-hmm.
We want you to do 40 minutes, 10 grand, and you could work in any material you want. You're like, what are the restrictions? Can I curse? And they're like, you can do anything. You could write 40 minutes about how they're all racist and they're all going to hell.
Yeah, and then
would you take 10 grand to do that?
10 grand to yell at the KKK?
Yeah, you might get murdered in the parking lot after, but like,
well, if I could get paid first, yell at them. If I could take their money, yell at them, have someone waiting in a turned on car,
right, warmed up, ready to go
with the door open, so I could just whoosh.
Right. So then, say you do this gig, and someone's like, "You perform for the KKK. You're a sellout."
Well, I would take I'd take a good chunk of that money and donate it to whatever to somebody.
Okay.
That's probably what I would do, and then the rest I would go and spend at a soul food restaurant.
Right. So you'd go to like the Jewish American League. And
yeah, I would spend it at 2nd Avenue Deli.
Right.
Cats.
Okay. So that might make
Sylvia's.
a fun like little like short movie or like a little documentary about how you scammed the KKK.
Yeah,
basically.
That would be fascinating. Then you just follow where I spent all of their money.
Right.
It's like, and I just do a little blog. So I was like, hey KKK, how's it going?
Right.
I'm here at Amy Roof's in East Harlem. The food here is spectacular.
Right. And I'm feeling KKK. Right. Or like, you could be like, and then everything you buy, you could be like, thanks KKK, like, thanks for donating to the ACLU.
Okay, so I think all right. So we've got I've got the next phase of my career planned.
Yes, I think you should perform for racist organizations for money.
For money,
and then use that money to buy something counter to their philosophy.
I think that's the best way to do it.
Okay, but I think you could only do this like once before people catch on.
Yeah.
Like I don't think you could do that. I think the second time the KKK would be onto you.
Yeah, I would have to start. I'd have to get a mustache and
monocle,
contact
right,
lenses,
purple wig. Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And hey, I'll need someone to drive me. Maybe we can do another road trip.
Yeah, I would be the car waiting
Excellent.
for you. Yeah.
I appreciate it.
Or I just
Carrie.
leave and watch you be killed.
Well, if I could, okay.
Take your 10 grand.
All right, so I would be okay with that, and this is a great landing pad to come in. I would be okay with that if that happened, only if I was your closing bit for minimum of 5 years.
Okay. So wait, we do this for 5 years and then one day I drive off, you mean?
No. At 5 for the story of my death by the KKK for calling them racist for money has to be your closer, and then I need that on like all platforms.
My Okay, yes.
Yeah. Because I'm dead.
I would live. Your name would live
on. I'll be dead,
on.
but I
I'd
need
be
to live on.
So they'd be like, "Are you the comic who killed Will Carey?" And I'd be like, "Yes, but it's an amazing story."
Yes, you can get it on my album.
And you can get it on my album, right? But then I would make money off your death. Is that okay?
I'm okay with that.
Okay, you're okay with not only being murdered by the KKK for telling them they're racist. You'd be okay with me driving off and then using that story to capitalize.
I mean, ideally, I don't want you to drive off, or I at least want you to start driving slow enough so I can jump onto the roof of the car.
Right.
But if it ended up like the plan B, if I die, that's how I'd want it to go out.
And would you want me to pretend to be sad about your death, or would you want me to be like, well, he should have run faster? Like, should I?
Whatever's funniest. Whatever gets the biggest laugh.
Whatever goes, anything for the laugh. Okay, good to know. Can you put this in writing?
Well, I have been recording this conversation.
I need a lawyer to listen.
This.
I'll need my legal team to look.
Yeah, well, my people will call your people and we'll get it set up. Thanks.
Sounds good.
Excellent. Thank you, Carrie. I appreciate you doing this.
Well, you're welcome. This is a lot of fun. Thanks for letting me sit amongst the throw pillows.
No problem. Thank you. folks, that's our show. Thank you for listening. As always, you can rate the show on iTunes, leave a comment or a review, and we're also on Stitcher. And if you guys enjoyed the show, please feel free to tell a friend. Again, I'll be doing a storytelling show at the Sidewalk Cafe for a EP recording with David Lawson, Anita Flores, and Marc Abbott May 9th in New York City. And you can always follow me on Twitter at ComicWillCarrie, and go to my website, willcarrieisfunny.com, for more information. But again, that'll be May 9th at the Sidewalk Cafe, so I hope to see some of you guys there. And have a great week, and I'll see you next week between awesome and disaster. Take care, everyone.